Deep inside the jungles of Belize, hidden temples and sacred caves guard secrets that could help humanity survive the future. But this world, and the wisdom inside it, is disappearing faster than the trees that protect it. Beneath the emerald canopy of Belize's rainforest lies a world most people never see, a place where ancient pyramids sleep beneath thick vines, and stories carved into weathered limestone whisper about a civilization that once ruled the heart of Central America. Every rustle of leaves, every echo from a hidden cave seems to carry the memory of kings, astronomers, and farmers who built an empire in harmony with the land. This isn't just history locked in stone, it's a living heartbeat. The Maya people, descendants of one of the greatest civilizations on Earth, still walk these forests. They plant corn by the moon, gather medicinal plants with care, and celebrate ceremonies that have outlived empires. To them, the rainforest isn't only a resource, it's sacred, woven into their identity like the patterns of a hand-loomed textile. But today, their world stands at a dangerous crossroads. Logging trucks rumble along once quiet trails, cutting down mahogany and cedar that have stood for centuries. Mining companies eye the hills where caves hide ancient offerings. Climate change creeps in silently, bringing longer droughts and fiercer storms that threaten crops and homes alike. For a culture built on respect for balance, this imbalance is devastating. The jungle's ancient temples, Karakol, Zunantunik, Lamanai, aren't just tourist attractions, they're chapters of a living story. Yet looters chip away at their carved staircases, and careless development undermines the roots that keep their stones standing. Some monuments have already been damaged beyond repair, erasing clues about how the Maya mapped the stars, built thriving cities, and fed millions without destroying their environment. Even more fragile is the knowledge passed down through voices rather than books. Maya healers, astronomers, and farmers carry techniques honed over thousands of years. How to heal a fever with a bark infusion, how to predict rains by the flight of birds, how to plant maize so soil stays fertile year after year. These insights aren't just folklore, they're practical wisdom that could help today's world confront problems from food security to climate resilience. Yet as younger generations leave for work in towns or tourist resorts, elders sometimes take their secrets to the grave. What happens to humanity when a culture this rich, and a rainforest this vital, are lost? We lose more than artifacts or scenery, we lose ideas, languages, and solutions that might guide us toward living more lightly on Earth. The disappearance of Maya heritage is a warning about how fragile our shared history is, and how quickly it can vanish if we ignore it. To understand the stakes, we must journey deep into Belize, where the Maya are fighting for their future. Their struggle is not only to defend sacred temples or preserve traditions. It's about protecting a landscape that breathes life into our planet and safeguarding wisdom that belongs to all of us. Their story is a reminder: when we save a culture and a forest, we save a piece of ourselves. The Maya story stretches back more than 3,000 years, to a time when great forests stretched unbroken across Central America and stone cities rose from the jungle like mountains made by human hands. They were master builders, engineers, artists, and thinkers. The Maya invented a complex writing system of elegant glyphs, recorded dynasties on stelae of limestone, and created a calendar so precise it could predict solar eclipses centuries in advance. They studied the movement of Venus, mapped the constellations, and calculated the solar year with astonishing accuracy. All without metal tools or the wheel. Belize was one of the brightest hubs of this civilization. Its rivers, like the Motzel and the New River, served as watery highways where traders paddled canoes loaded with jade, cacao beans, salt, obsidian, and fine ceramics. These trade routes linked inland centers to coastal ports, weaving Belize into a network that stretched from Mexico's Yucatan to Honduras. Farmers carved terraces into hillsides and engineered raised fields in wetlands to grow maize, beans, and squash, the three sisters that sustained millions. Astronomers built observatories atop temples, scanning the heavens for signs that guided planting and royal rituals. Even after the great urban centers like Karakol, Lamanai, and Zunantunik began to decline around the 9th century, Maya communities never disappeared. They retreated to smaller villages, maintained their crops, and kept their ceremonies alive. Later, when Spanish conquistadors arrived in the 16th century, many Maya resisted conquest fiercely, and even after European control tightened, they continue to speak their languages and preserve elements of their spiritual worldview. British colonization added new challenges, yet the Maya adapted again, blending some outside influences while protecting their sacred traditions, their respect for maize, and their ties to the land. Today, the Maya remain a vibrant part of Belize's cultural mosaic, making up roughly 12% of the population. They are divided into three main groups: Mopan, Keki, and Yucatec, each with its own dialect, customs, and oral histories. A visitor to a Maya village might see families tending small milpas, planting corn in accordance with the lunar cycle just as their ancestors did. Women weave bright textiles that tell stories in patterns of thread, while men carve wooden masks used in ceremonies or festivals. Children learn both English, for school and work, and their community's Maya language, which carries ancient words for plants, stars, and spiritual beings. This heritage is not a relic to be displayed in museums, it is a living philosophy about balance between people and nature. For the Maya, the rainforest is more than scenery, it is a partner. Birds, rivers, caves, and even mountains are believed to have spirits deserving of respect. Farming is done with care so the soil remains healthy for future generations. Ceremonies of thanks mark the harvest, reminding everyone that survival depends on harmony with the land. To understand the Maya is to understand resilience, a culture that has endured collapse, conquest, and modernization while still offering timeless lessons on how humanity can thrive without destroying the world that sustains us. Belize's rainforest is far more than just a backdrop to history, it is the beating heart of the entire region, a living system that sustains animals, plants, rivers, and people alike. Sprawling across the country's interior, this lush expanse shelters jaguars slinking through the undergrowth, toucans flashing their bright beaks in the canopy, and tapirs, Belize's national animal, quietly feeding along riverbanks. Orchids cling to towering mahogany trees, while frogs, snakes, and insects create a constant chorus that fills the humid air. Hidden among the greenery are medicinal plants that Maya healers have studied for generations, each leaf and root carrying remedies for fevers, bites, wounds, and even spiritual unease. For the Maya, this isn't just wilderness, it is an extension of home. Every tree, river, and cave carries meaning. The forest provides food, water, materials for houses, and herbs for medicine, but it also holds sacred spaces where offerings are left for the spirits of the earth. Walk with a Maya guide and you'll notice how carefully they tread, naming plants with respect, pointing out trees where ancestors once prayed for rain or good harvests. Yet this green sanctuary is shrinking, and its loss threatens not only wildlife but also the people who have depended on it for thousands of years. Industrial logging cuts into old-growth mahogany and cedar, stripping away trees that may have stood since before Columbus set sail. These giants take centuries to mature, yet they can disappear in a single day of chainsaws and heavy machinery. Beyond legal operations, illegal loggers and poachers slip into protected areas, taking what they can and leaving behind scars that may never heal. Mining presents another danger. Prospectors dig into sacred hillsides in search of gold or other minerals, leaving pits and toxic runoff that poison streams downstream. Roads carved from mining or timber open once inaccessible areas to further exploitation, fragmenting habitats where jaguars hunt and scarlet macaws nest. Climate change piles on top of these pressures. As global temperatures rise, Belize faces longer droughts that parch fields, as well as intense storms and floods that sweep away homes and crops. For indigenous farmers relying on small plots, these changes strike at the core of their survival. The rainforest is also a powerful ally in the global fight against climate change. Its dense vegetation stores massive amounts of carbon, locking greenhouse gases safely away. When the forest is cut or burned, that carbon is released, adding fuel to an already warming planet. Losing Belize's rainforest isn't just a local tragedy, it weakens the Earth's natural defenses against a crisis affecting everyone. For the Maya, the stakes are higher still. The disappearance of trees or the drying up of rivers is not only an environmental disaster but also a spiritual wound. Sacred caves where ancestors once performed rituals are often disturbed by careless visitors or treasure hunters digging for relics. Ancient temples, carefully balanced among living roots, crumble when deforestation strips away the vegetation that holds hillsides firm. Each loss erases part of the story linking today's Maya to their ancestors. Yet amid these challenges, there is hope, and it comes from the very people who have the longest relationship with the land. Belize has set aside large areas of protected rainforest, such as the Chiquibel Forest Reserve and the Coxcomb Basin Wildlife Sanctuary, which is famous as the world's first jaguar preserve. Community rangers, many of them Maya, patrol trails to deter illegal logging and poaching. Conservation groups partner with villages to teach sustainable farming, like crop rotation and agroforestry, which allows families to grow food while keeping the forest intact. Local guides are also showing tourists how to experience the rainforest responsibly. Visitors are encouraged to walk softly, avoid littering, and respect sacred sites, bringing income to communities without damaging what makes the forest unique. School programs introduce children to the value of wildlife and trees, helping them see that protecting the rainforest is not just about preserving scenery, it is about safeguarding their future. The Maya's message is clear: the forest is life. Protecting it isn't only an act of cultural pride, it is an act of survival for everyone. Clean air, stable weather, fertile soil, and drinking water all depend on the health of these green lungs. By keeping the rainforest standing, we not only honor the wisdom of the past but also secure a livable world for generations to come. The battle for Belize's rainforest is urgent, but it is not hopeless. Each tree left to grow, each river kept clear, and each child taught to respect the land is a step toward balance, the very balance the Maya have sought to preserve for centuries. Beyond the ruins and the dense green jungle lies something even more valuable than stone monuments: the living knowledge of the Maya. Over thousands of years, this people built a library of wisdom without paper or ink, passed from one generation to the next through stories, ceremonies, and hands-on practice. They watched the skies night after night, noting how the moon waxed and waned, how Venus rose as morning star, how eclipses came in regular cycles. Their observations weren't idle curiosity, they used them to create calendars so precise they rival modern calculations, helping farmers know when rains would come and when to plant maize, beans, and squash. But the Maya's genius extended far beyond astronomy. They learned to read the language of the forest. The behavior of birds that signaled storms, the flowering of certain trees that meant fish were spawning, the smell of soil that told them it was time to sow seeds. Their agricultural practices, like rotating crops and building terraces to protect fragile slopes, allowed them to feed large populations without exhausting the land. Even today, farmers in some villages continue to follow lunar cycles or consult elders about the right moment to prepare fields. Equally remarkable is their knowledge of healing plants. Local healers, known as AJ men, carry an encyclopedic understanding of herbs, barks, and roots. A sprig of one plant may soothe a fever, the resin of another can close wounds, a tea brewed from rainforest leaves might calm anxiety or aid sleep. Many of these remedies have already inspired modern medicines, while others may hold cures still undiscovered by science. For the Maya, health has always meant more than fixing a single symptom. It is about balancing body, spirit, and the natural world. It is a call for all of us to defend culture, forests, and history before they slip beyond recovery. Supporting indigenous rights is one of the strongest ways to meet that challenge. When Maya communities are allowed to manage their own lands, they often safeguard forests far better than outside agencies. Traditional farming methods, such as rotating fields and planting diverse crops, keep soils fertile while preserving habitats for birds, insects, and mammals. Protecting sacred caves and temples ensures that ceremonies and stories remain rooted in the very landscapes where they began. Strengthening land rights, funding community-led projects, and respecting Maya decision-making are essential steps toward long-term conservation. Tourism also carries power, for harm or for good. Visitors who treat ruins as playgrounds or litter along jungle trails damage the fragile environments they came to admire. But responsible tourism can do the opposite. It can generate income for local families, create incentives to keep forests standing, and celebrate the living culture that makes Belize unique. Choosing certified guides, staying in eco-friendly lodges, and honoring rules around sacred sites help ensure that travel benefits the people who have preserved these treasures for generations. For viewers, the battle begins with awareness. Learning about Maya heritage, sharing their stories, and supporting initiatives against deforestation spread ripples of change. Small, thoughtful choices add up. Buying fair trade chocolate supports cacao farmers who protect biodiversity. Reducing paper waste lowers pressure on forests. Donating to rainforest charities fuels patrols and reforestation efforts. Even online, amplifying voices from indigenous activists and conservation leaders can widen the audience for their urgent message. Imagine a future where Belize's rainforest still roars with howler monkeys, where jaguars stalk silently beneath the palms, and where Maya children study the same constellations their ancestors once mapped in the sky. Picture stone temples standing unbroken amid a sea of green, not as ruins to mourn but as monuments to resilience. See communities thriving, able to pass on languages, recipes, dances, and planting traditions, a living link between past and future. That future is not a distant dream, it is a choice unfolding now. Preserving the Maya's culture. And the rainforest around it is not just about protecting beautiful places or celebrating history. It is about keeping alive a body of wisdom that teaches balance, respect, and cooperation with the natural world, lessons humanity urgently needs. By listening, learning, and acting, we join the Maya of Belize in writing a new chapter, one where culture and nature flourish together, and where the knowledge of an ancient people helps guide a planet searching for harmony. Yet this priceless store of knowledge is under threat. In many communities, young people leave their villages to seek work in tourism, construction, or cities across the border. Life in urban centers often means less time for traditional learning, and fewer chances to hear elders share stories or demonstrate rituals. At the same time, many wise men and women grow old without anyone to take their place, carrying secrets of herbal treatments, sacred chants, or farming techniques that risk vanishing forever when they pass on. To protect this heritage, Maya communities and allies are working creatively. Some villages have launched oral history projects, recording interviews with grandparents and documenting songs, prayers, and folktales. Others are organizing workshops where elders teach children how to recognize medicinal plants or read the night sky. Schools in Belize now offer programs in Mopan, Keki, and Yucatec languages, ensuring that words describing plants, constellations, and ceremonies remain alive. Archaeologists, too, are shifting how they work, collaborating with indigenous leaders so that excavations respect sacred sites rather than disturb them. Preserving this wisdom is not just about nostalgia or tourism, it has urgent relevance for our future. Maya farming methods could guide us toward sustainable food systems in an era of soil depletion and unpredictable weather. Their understanding of ecosystems, knowing which plants grow together, which insects help crops thrive, and how forests regenerate, offers lessons for conservation and climate resilience. Their herbal lore may provide treatments for diseases we have yet to cure. Even their worldview, which sees people as part of a larger balance with animals, rivers, and stars, can inspire a healthier relationship between humanity and Earth. Every time a Maya song, recipe, or healing formula disappears, the world loses more than a cultural artifact, it loses a piece of practical intelligence shaped by centuries of careful observation. Protecting and celebrating Maya knowledge is therefore an investment in solutions we may desperately need. By listening to their stories, honoring their teachers, and supporting projects that keep traditions alive, we don't just preserve the past, we secure a map for living wisely on a fragile planet. The Maya of Belize are not relics from a vanished empire, they are the living heirs of one of humanity's most remarkable legacies. Their stories, languages, farming practices, and ceremonies are still alive, carried forward in villages nestled among rivers and towering ceiba trees. They are stewards of living wisdom, guardians of rainforests, and protectors of ancient knowledge that has endured for more than 3,000 years. But that heritage stands on fragile ground. The pressures of logging, mining, looting, and climate change threaten to silence voices that have guided people for centuries. Their fight is not only for themselves.